All right, let's talk about this. All right, how did these classically, traditionally, however you want to think about, customarily trained scientists become media producers? Like, tell us, how did this happen? Right, this is obviously a growing field, SciComm. What's your story, Alex?
Yeah, so I can never choose things. I always want to do everything. So in my undergrad degree, I dual majored in biology and film. And I really thought I was going to have to pick one, right? I was going to have to either be a filmmaker or be a biologist. And I went and actually worked in film production for a couple years after undergrad, but then went back to grad school to do a genetics degree. And so really was sort of using the combination of those two in a YouTube channel as a creative outlet. So when I was working as a film producer, YouTube was a way for me to talk about science because I didn't have that outlet anymore. And then when I went to grad school, YouTube was a way for me to do film projects because I didn't really have that outlet anymore. And truly through my third year of grad school, I knew I didn't want to be a professor. I knew I didn't want to stay in academia, but I had never heard the term science communicator. I did not know that was a possible career path. But I started making these videos and I started seeing, okay, other people are doing it. And then I made a video with astronaut Kate Rubins, who did the first DNA sequencing in space. And it was so cool. I got to sequence DNA with an astronaut and then eat tacos in the same day. And I just had the greatest day of my life in Texas. And a company saw that video and they said, hey, do you do this professionally? Would you want to make videos for us? And I was like, yes, absolutely. I do this all the time. I make video. I'd never made a professional video like that before.
Well, you're a YouTuber.
But I was a YouTuber and that was kind of the style that they wanted. And they knew. Was
this Merck?
No, it was Mini PCR. So it's a company out of Boston that makes equipment that is both fully functional lab equipment, but also great for education. So it was really a mission that I got behind, and I started doing some freelance work on the side in grad school.
Not the only one.
You got to do what you got to do. And then by the time I graduated, I'd had a couple other people reach out, and I was like, okay, I have a few freelance clients. Let's see if I can professionally make SciComm videos. And I gave myself a year. And I said, if in a year I can't, I'm not making rent, I got to go out and get a real job.
Right.
But it's been 5 years now.
And you're still doing it?
And I'm still doing it.
Making rent.
I'm still making rent. Right. Still making rent. And have now had the opportunity to do so many cool projects that I truly had no idea were even in the realm of possibility when I was pre-grad school, in grad school. The types of people I've worked with, the type of projects I've worked on. Leading to things like this where I get to produce super cool ideas with people that I love working with. So it was just me not deciding between science and film. I just decided both.
Both. You merged them together.
Them.
All right, cool.
Technical creative.
The technical. You know what I mean? So, but you were you got your PhD at Stanford, and then you were kind of coast to coast because you were in Boston at one point.
Yeah. So I grew up in Massachusetts. I lived out there for a couple years for work after college. Then I moved to the Bay Area for grad school, and then now I live down in Los Angeles.
L.A. Now you with the other filmmakers, showing them that you can be a scientist and a filmmaker.
Exactly. It's very nice. There are a ton of different places to make science communication and people do it really well, but it is nice being in LA where if I need a certain piece of gear, if I need a camera person for a day, it does make it easy.
Yeah, I understand it. Yeah,
it makes it easy.
Yeah. Steph, did you have an aha moment that led you to science communication as a career?
As a career, when I failed out of my PhD program.
I know the story, but you got to tell us. I almost feel like we could do a whole podcast on just that story. But go ahead and give us the synopsis.
The cliff notes, the spark notes. Where'd I even go? So I just didn't have a good mentor match when I first got into my PhD program.
But you had a master's. You had a bachelor's and a master's.
I went straight into a chemistry PhD program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went straight into. So I joined there was still rotations, but I joined the lab that I did a summer REU in because I enjoyed the research a lot. And so it was nanomaterials, and we got to use electron microscopes to characterize nanoparticles. I loved it. But I needed someone I had so much hand-holding during undergrad that once I got into grad school, I was just kind of left to my own demise. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so when I sought help for it, that's when the PI at that time was just maybe let's just stick with the master's. Let's see how the master's goes.
So you converted to a master's program even though you were in a PhD program?
No. So I had to, I didn't want my master's.
Okay.
I was there for a PhD.
Okay.
And so I decided to switch labs. And in switching labs, I had to write my, what I did so far for those 2 years. And that was my master's essentially. So I just got I got a master's on the way to switch to a lab just for logistics reasons.
Man, listen, I'm getting more details. I didn't know these details. All right. So you had to write it up to switch labs.
Yes. as like a precaution almost.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. But then that was essentially a thesis.
Yeah.
All right.
And so I switched labs, and then I was in a better lab with a better mentor.
Okay.
But I hated the research, and so I had no interest in that.
Okay.
So while this parallel timeline is happening, I'm also making science videos on Instagram for fun as a creative outlet. And I was a fan of Alex already. There was another YouTuber called Sally LePage. Then we have like the Veritasiums and, Kami Smart, all the popular people making science videos. And I was like, you know what? I can do the same thing. And so, but I wanted a little bit more representation on there.
Right.
And so I started interviewing my own friends on Instagram. And then I ended up finding out a friend was hosting a workshop, a 2-day workshop about science communication. And then one of the YouTubers, Joe Hansen,
who I had opportunity to meet
that we
last
just met
week.
at PBS.
Yeah.
He was our keynote speaker, and
Okay.
that's when I made the connection that like the science YouTubers that I watch were actually science communicators, and
It's
that
a
science
whole
communication
thing.
is a legit.
It's a
field.
legit field. And so you were not like, you didn't hate chemistry.
No.
It was just the experience with that particular degree program
Yes.
and really lab, right?
Yeah.
But you were like, hey, I still want to talk about it. I still want to make it creative and fun. I
Yeah.
still want more representation, as you said. And so you still merged both of your paths.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know you. Okay, I'll get a little bit more details because I actually followed Stephanie on social media, and then when I saw your stuff, I was like, man, this is creative. Especially, the video I like a lot, the one that you duet with yourself like every so many years.
do.
We about to put that in the video.
She doesn't want to talk about it though.
Okay, all right,
no.
we won't do that to you.
I mean, no, you know what? I don't mind talking about it because I got my start on YouTube by doing a very silly lip sync with myself every 3 years. And at the first couple years, like my friends watched it and it was fine. And then
Yeah.
the third year I posted it, I was on a way to a pottery class.
Wow.
And a friend texted me and she was like, "You're on the Huffington Post." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Why? What did I do?"
Yeah.
But so I got a small following from it. And actually that was really the boost that gave me the inspiration to start my YouTube channel because I was like, hey, I now suddenly have an audience.
Right.
They're here for lip syncing videos.
Right. Yeah.
But
Let's
I'm
give
going to
them
give them
science.
science.
You're gonna get this science before you leave.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I really don't think I would have started the YouTube channel except for that because this was like 6 or 7 months after SciShow started.
Okay.
And when SciShow started, I remember clearly thinking to myself, oh no, there's already a science YouTube channel. There doesn't need to be two.
Right.
And
Why do we need two?
We
of
don't
this
need
thing?
two. And like the landscape has changed so much over the
Right.
last decade.
200 now.
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
much. Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
great, which is awesome.
Fantastic.
But that really was the state of YouTube 10 years ago was
Right.
that it was weird to be
Yeah.
doing educational content.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that a lot of people were doing.
Right.
And so it's been so nice now to see that like, oh, there's a whole community of
Whole
us out there
community.
doing that.
Yeah. And you were making, what was like the style or format of your YouTube videos?
Yeah, my very first YouTube videos,
Science, yeah.
for the first couple years, I called them bite-sized videos.
Bite-sized.
They were all SCIZED.
Yep.
Terrible if you have to spell out your name every time you say it to people. Bad branding decision.
I got it. Though. I got
But
it.
you got,
Yeah,
I'm glad you got it.
Yeah.
But they were all like 2 to 3 minute videos about quick sort of science concepts.
Right.
And they were fun and they gave me a lot of experience in how to distill something down. And then it changed over, when I went to grad school, they started being more, what is it like to be a grad student? What is doing research more like? And truly, since then, I make YouTube videos for literally everyone except myself. And so there's
Right.
nothing on my own YouTube
Yeah,
channel
you went from
anymore.
and we talked about this, right? Like
Yeah.
you were a YouTuber quotes
Yeah.
before, but now you're a YouTuber, right? Like
Yeah.
behind
Yeah.
the scenes YouTuber or, on behalf of third parties.
Yes.